There are seasons in a person's life when silence feels heavier than sound, and a simple knock at the door becomes something more than an interruption. Something like hope disguised in the smallest gesture. And this story belongs to a widow named Eleanor who lived at the edge of a quiet American town where the nights grew long after her husband passed, leaving her with a house full of memories and a heart learning how to breathe again. She had once been surrounded by laughter and warm dinners shared across a wooden table her husband built with his own hands. But after he was gone, the table felt too big, the rooms felt too wide, and the evenings stretched like empty corridors. So she filled them with small tasks, washing dishes slowly, watering plants she no longer cared to keep alive, and standing too long at the window watching lights flick on in neighbors' homes because it comforted her to know someone somewhere was still awake. She was not bitter, only exhausted from grief that moved through her days like an invisible shadow. And she prayed each morning for strength to make it to nightfall. The first meal came on a Tuesday evening when the air outside was crisp and the world carried the quiet hum of early autumn. She had just settled into her chair with a blanket wrapped around her shoulders when she heard a soft tap at the door. Not a loud knock, but something gentle, almost hesitant, as if the visitor did not wish to startle her. She opened the door cautiously and felt a mild breeze touch her face before she noticed a small container wrapped in foil sitting on the welcome mat alongside a neatly folded napkin. There was no note, no signature, no message, only the warmth rising from the food and the faint scent of herbs that reminded her of the meals her husband used to make when she was sick. She looked around, but the street was empty, only the flickering street lamp and the rustling leaves keeping her company. She hesitated before picking up the container because she did not understand why someone would leave it. But something about its simplicity felt comforting rather than alarming. So she carried it inside and placed it on the counter, whispering a quiet thank you even though she had no idea to whom she was speaking. When she opened the container, she found a homemade stew filled with vegetables and tender pieces of chicken, steaming with the kind of warmth that feels like memory rather than food. And as she took her first bite, something inside her loosened, something that had been clenched since the day she stood beside her husband's hospital bed, holding a hand that would never squeeze hers again. She finished the meal slowly, savoring each spoonful, wondering who in her quiet neighborhood would think of her and why they chose not to reveal themselves. And though she had many guesses, she avoided reaching conclusions because she did not want to assume kindness where none existed. Yet she could not deny that the simple act lifted a weight she had grown accustomed to carrying. The next night at the same hour, she heard the same soft tap at the door. And again she found a meal waiting for her. This time a warm casserole with cheese melted on top and a small loaf of bread wrapped carefully beside it. Again there was no note. Again the street was empty. Again she whispered that same quiet thank you. A pattern began to form, and she found herself looking forward to the gentle tap at her door, feeling an anticipation she had not felt in months. Something that reminded her she was still a person worth remembering. On the fourth night she decided to act quickly, hoping to catch whoever was leaving the food. So she positioned herself near the door with her coat already on and waited, listening to the faint ticking of the clock above her kitchen sink. When the tap finally came, she opened the door in a rush, but saw only the edge of a shadow turning the corner. Too far, too quick for her to identify, and she stood in the doorway with the meal at her feet, realizing that whoever was doing this did not want to be thanked, only to give without recognition. Day after day, the meals continued. All different, all homemade, all warm, and she felt herself changing as they arrived. She began waking earlier, humming softly while preparing coffee, watering her plants with more attention, and stepping outside to feel sunlight on her face before retreating back inside. The neighbors noticed her renewed energy, but none of them admitted to being the mysterious giver. And when she casually mentioned the meals to one of her closest friends, the woman looked confused and even surprised. insisting no one in the neighborhood had mentioned doing anything of the sort. This deepened the mystery and stirred something like awe inside Eleanor, because she sensed the meals carried a deeper purpose than simple charity. Something intentional, something protective, something almost divine. One evening as she sat at her table eating a dish of warm, baked pasta, she remembered her husband's final words. A soft whisper telling her she would not walk alone through the years that followed. And she had dismissed the words as comfort spoken in tenderness, but now they echoed with new meaning. She felt as though those words had materialized in the form of these nightly meals, each one a silent assurance that she was not forgotten. She continued to wonder who might be behind them, but she also realized that knowing might diminish the wonder of the experience, and she allowed herself to receive the blessing without explanation. After nearly 3 weeks of nightly meals, she decided she wanted to leave something in return. Not to reveal her gratitude to a specific person, but simply to honor the kindness itself. So she placed a small handwritten note on her welcome mat that read, "Thank you, whoever you are. Your kindness is feeding more than my body. It is feeding my hope." She weighed it down with a stone so it wouldn't blow away. That night she heard the tap at the usual time, but when she opened the door, the note was gone and a warm meal sat in its place. Still no message, still no clue, but something subtle had changed inside her. She no longer cried when she woke. She no longer avoided the table they had once shared. She no longer feared the quiet. She had begun to heal in ways she never expected. And she knew healing had not come from the food itself, but from the love behind it. Love that felt guided by something greater than human intention. Then, one night, after a cold rain had passed and the streets shimmered with reflections from street lamps, she opened the door to find not only a meal but also a small envelope resting on top of it. Her breath caught. Her hands trembled as she picked it up and opened it slowly. Inside was a short note written in neat handwriting. "You are loved. You are seen." This was never meant to be a mystery. It was meant to be a reminder. That was all. No name, no explanation, only truth. And as she read those words, she felt tears rise not from sorrow, but from overwhelming peace, as if God Himself had whispered them to her through the hands of an unseen helper. She pressed the note to her heart and whispered into the silent night sky, "Thank you," knowing the gratitude was meant for more than just a neighbor. She knew now that even though she could not see the giver, she could feel the presence behind the gift. A presence that had walked with her since the day she lost her husband. A presence that refused to let grief swallow her life. She stepped back inside, holding the note tightly, feeling stronger than she had felt in many months, knowing she would never again question whether heaven heard her prayers. Welcome, dear friend. This is Faith Light Stories, where every story reminds us that God never leaves us. Please like, share, and subscribe. And as this story closes, I invite you to reflect on the quiet kindnesses that have carried you through seasons of sorrow. The unseen hands that lifted you when you felt alone. The moments when help arrived in ways you could not explain. And I encourage you to share your own story in the comments, because your testimony may become the reminder someone else needs tonight. And your voice may be the comfort that changes a life.